morning, everybody. It's August the 15th. It is a little bit after 6 o'clock, and I am headed to work. We don't have classes beginning until next week, but I'm going in to get some work done. So I've checked on. I've been up since about 3:30. I just woke up and decided to go ahead and get up. So I've fed the outside cats. I've played with the dogs. I've played with the inside cats. I've knitted on some socks for a little bit. I did a little bit of house cleaning, and yeah, so this is kind of my trial run for next week. I usually get up and start moving around about 5 a.m. and I try to leave the house by 6. I did some stretches this morning. I'm trying to get back into my practice of doing my they're called Ageless Mobility. They're by a gentleman named Scott Sonnen, and it helps you keep flexible as you age. I find it really helps with my riding, and it also helps if I have soreness or stiffness in my shoulders and neck to do those. So they're worth looking up. Anybody can do them. He starts them out really simply, and I have found them really valuable over the years. And I quit doing them for a while, and then I remember to do them, and it makes me feel better. And I'm like, why don't I do these all the time? Anyway, so I'm headed to work. So I guess y'all get to see a little bit of that today to start with. And on the way home, I've got to stop by the feed store and pick up some salt licks and fly mineral for the cows, because it's that time of month, and for them. And we're gonna get on with their day. Well, nothing says the start of a new school year like a new faculty parking permit, so I guess I'll stick that on the donkey. That's what I call my car, the little blue donkey, because she's so good. This is one of my research students' posters. I forget what this was for, maybe for the posters. Well, I'm starting my laptop up because I haven't been logged onto the network on campus in about a month, and I'm sure it's going to have a fit with updates. Well, our departmental administrative assistant, Miss Nancy, has a garden this year, and apparently her cucumbers are doing very well because she sent me all these. She said they've gotten bitter, so she wants me to feed them to my chickens. But I'm going to slice into them and see if some of them are still good. But anyway, so I thought that was sweet of her to share the wealth of her garden. Okay, well, I mean, I haven't done a lot of recording because what I'm doing is not super exciting, but I am revamping one of my class structures, basically. I'm rewriting the syllabus a little bit, and I'm changing up how I do things because I'm changing from using a traditional textbook to using the OpenStax or open source textbook, which are free for the students to use online. You know, that's one of the biggest obstacles, I think, for students is the cost of textbooks is so high. So I'm going to try out this OpenStax book. I've been listening to some music on iTunes, which is what I've got pulled up right now, but I'm revamping my class materials. And so that's kind of what I've spent the morning doing. I'm teaching the modern physics, or the third section of our majors class. So we're doing modern physics. So we start with waves and sound, and then light and optics, which is how your eye or how optical instruments work. And then we talk about all the cool modern physics stuff. So sort of the things that Einstein and Marie Curie and J.J. Thomson and Paul Dirac and Erwin Schrödinger and all those cool things. And that's the stuff that I really, really love, which is the reason I love my Tesla Knits periodic table bag. And then a former student gave me this really cool nuclear science merit badge series, because I actually talk about the radioactive Boy Scout. And if you've never heard of that, I may talk about that on my podcast. Also, here in Arkansas, many years ago when I was a kid, there was a situation at a Titan missile silo, which we used to have a lot of the Titan missile silos here in Arkansas, and there was one just up the road from the university that actually had a pretty significant accident at it, and this book was written about it because I talk about science literacy, and so this book deals with a lot of different things about that. A former student who actually now works for us loaned that to me. And then, of course, our department secretary also brought me some canning jars in addition to the cucumbers. So, yay for canning jars. Anyway, yeah, so this is a little overview of my office. I won't, show you all of it because I've got to do some cleaning, but these are my bookshelves, and that's my PhD diploma. That's the only one I actually have framed, is that one. right? So that's part of my office. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work here. A bunch of us are going to go to lunch in about a half hour, and I'm sure ready because I've been awake since 3:30. So that's kind of what I'm working on, just writing up some learning objectives for this new book and getting class stuff ready. So that's kind of what my day has been about and is going to be about for the next little while. Okay, we're here in the physics department office. Hi, Miss Nancy.
Hello.
And then Garrett.
Hello.
Garrett's one of our former students. He's in for a visit today, and I'm working real hard here. I'm printing out knitting patterns. So we're getting ready for the beginning of the semester. Any wise words for all of us coming back?
Read the syllabus.
No kidding. What about you, Garrett? You got any wise words for incoming students?
Yeah, read the book.
Read the book, yes.
Yeah.
I'm using OpenStax this semester.
What is that?
The free online book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
from
good.
Rice
That's
University.
good. So definitely read the book then.
Yeah, you have no excuse,
Yeah,
right?
True,
right.
very true, yeah.
You must study, you must read the syllabus, and you have to sleep at some point.
Yes. And don't make me have a come to Jesus
Very
meeting
true.
with you. Okay, so, well, I'm done for today, I think. So I'm going to the house. Catch y'all later. Well, I got quite a bit done in my office today. I'm trying to revamp one of my classes, as I said, and change up. And just because, you know, after a while of teaching it, you get bored with the same routine, so you change things up a little bit. I already scheduled our service learning project for this fall. The Super Science Saturday is already on the schedule. I already reserved the planetarium for that day. And got quite a bit of the class paperwork done. I'm going to finish up some stuff tomorrow and Friday. I probably won't come back in down here this week, but I'll work at home. And other than that, you know, I'm tickled with how much I got done. Hopefully I can get my one class finished up, and then the other class will be pretty routine, just change some dates on the calendar. And I like to put new project topics on the list too, because you can only see so many projects about LASIK eye surgery before you're like, I don't want to see that anymore. But anyway, so I got quite a bit done, and I'm headed home. I'm going to run by the feed store and get some fly mineral for my cattle and some salt for my cattle, and then I'm going to head on home and feed and water and do what I do. Do what I do when I get home, and that's pretty much how the rest of the day is going to go. I don't know that I'll record a podcast episode tonight. It's rainy and it's going to be really dark in that room, so I might wait. I might just wait till next week and do one then, and then I'll have a lot of finished things to show. So if you miss me this week, that's probably why. But I think on the next podcast episode, I'm going to talk about the radioactive Boy Scout, because that's a really interesting science topic and one that I mention to my classes every semester. So I might talk about that. If y'all have science topics you want to know more about, I'll be glad to try to talk about them. If I don't know about them, I can learn about them, I suppose. That's always fun to learn stuff new, right? Okay, anyway, I'm going to head on back home via the feed store and get on with our normal afternoon of farm activities. Gotta love a feed store where you can pick up a new pair of reading glasses at the same time. Isn't that cool? And then I went in and they had, the guys, because I shop there a lot, gave me some free samples. They got some free samples of some gloves. So I got 3 different packages. I got orange nitrile. These are blue nitrile, it looks like. And then, I don't know what these are. Extra thick. Just regular ones. Glove Works. Cool. Free stuff is okay. So I stopped at the feed store and I got, this is sulfur salt. If you're not familiar with this, what it is it's basically a salt block, but they mix sulfur in it and also calcium sulfate. The sulfur is good for ticks, keeps the ticks and the fleas off of horses or cattle or whatever. The reason it has salt in it is so they can't just stand there and lick and lick and lick and lick. The other thing that it does is it encourages them to go get a drink of water. So I keep this out year round. In the summertime, it's not a problem with them drinking water, but in the wintertime, a lot of times they won't drink. So this makes them thirsty and they'll go drink water. But the sulfur is good for ticks, but you don't want them to intake a whole lot of it. Like you wouldn't want to just buy a bag of sulfur like you can buy as a snake repellent and put it out, because that could actually become toxic. This is the fly control mineral. It's a Purina brand, and it has if you look at it, it's a mineral bag. So if you look at the contents, and it's very useful to look at your feed tags to know what you're getting. It's a trace mineral block, so it supplies trace minerals that they may or may not be getting in their diet. Most of like especially with grass-fed cattle, you know, our pastures are pretty good, but you know, you want to make sure they've got a good balance of trace minerals. But what it is they have an insect, a larvicide basically. So the brand name of it is Alticid, and what it does is the cattle eat the mineral, and then there is an inert or a larvicide in it that the cattle don't digest. It passes through, but what it does is it gets in the manure and it kills the fly eggs and larvae. So it kills the fly larvae out of, and then your flies don't hatch out. Now the problem with this is you're never going to get rid of all of the flies, because for this to work, all of your neighbors have to use it, and all of their neighbors have to use it, and so forth. So what it does is it basically keeps them knocked down to a dull roar. I keep a fly mineral out starting in the springtime, early in the spring, all the way through fall. So it does help, because what they'll do is if they get too much of a fly load, you'll actually start losing weight, because your cattle are more busy swatting flies and hiding out like under cedar trees or whatever to get away from the flies, and they won't graze like they need to. Mine are very active grazers, and I don't have any problems with condition on them. So that tells me the fly load is not terrible, but any extra little bit helps. We've got some strong rain coming. I mean, it's just to the west of us, so I'm not going to put this out tonight. Everything that I've read online says it does okay in rain, but the rain would just, I'm afraid, melt it some. And at $40 a bag almost for a 50-pound bag, cost me $80 a month to treat the cattle. So I want to get all my money's worth if I can, so I'll put it out in the morning. But it is helpful to look at your feed tags. The withdrawal time on this for milk is 7 days. So if you're treating dairy cattle, you can't use the milk from them for 7 days. And then the withdrawal time for beef is 14 days. So I have a schedule at the processor for September 17th. So as long as I put this out in the next week, I'll be well outside the withdrawal time for my 2 steers that I'm planning on taking. So anyway, so yeah, it's helpful to look at your feed tags. So there's that one. So here's the chick feed tag. This is a starter. It is a non-medicated starter, and you want high protein for your baby chicks so they'll grow. And then you've got a lot of trace minerals here. You've got your fat and fiber content. And then also you'll notice it's got the probiotics in it to help their digestion. So, and then it talks about this phytase molecule. That helps them uptake the phosphorus, which helps their bones and muscles grow strong instead of having a problem. A lot of times when chicks grow too fast, like you see those house broilers that grow so fast, their skeletal structure can't support them. Well, I don't want that to happen. So this phytase helps liberate the phosphorus from the intake, or from the feed. So anyway, this is a crumble, because you want your baby chicks to be able to eat it. So it's not a pellet, it's a crumble. So it's easier for them to take this in. So this is just this is a grower starter, or starter grower, until you feed that until, I usually feed this until they're about 5 months old, and then I switch them over to a lay pellet for the adult chicken. Since we're talking about feed, what I thought I would do is show you this tag off my mini horse feed. I buy a special feed to feed my miniature horses and ponies because they are prone to founder. And the 2 things that you want to think about when you're looking at ponies is fiber content. You want it to be high, so 18% crude fiber and 23% ADF, and you want the starch and the sugars, especially the sugars, to be low, so 7% sugar and 11% starch. On a regular feed, that could be upwards of 15 to 18%. So you don't want that for your ponies, because those are the 2 things that would make them founder. And then again, you'll see it has the trace mineral components. This is a 13.5% protein. It's sort of a middling level of protein, but it's this fiber that's really important, and then the low sugars and starch content. And so this is specially made to feed to my miniature horses. It costs about twice what the sack of a regular cheap bag of sweet feed would cost, but there's two things that work for me. First of all, it's safe for them to eat, and second of all, cheap feed is cheap feed. Just like cheap dog food, you'll notice that your animals are producing a lot more manure, to put it, delicately, and that's because a lot of that feed has filler in it, so they're not digesting and using as much of it. So even though I'm paying more for feed, I'm actually utilizing more of it, and I can feed the recommended amount instead of having to double up to keep their weight up and keep them looking good. So, you get what you pay for, I guess is what I'm saying in terms of feed. Some people have, humanitarian issues with Purina, and I know that in the past they have done some pretty shady things. Right now, they're the only show in town for me as far as buying feed goes, and they're the only feed company that makes locally that I can get this miniature horse feed. And so, I have to make a choice. It's just like shopping at a big box store versus shopping at another store. I try to do as much as I can fair trade and locally grown and local buyers, but sometimes you have to go to Walmart. It can't be avoided. Or sometimes, you have to. So I guess what I'm saying is I make no claim to be ethically pure. I try to do the very, very best that I can, but in the case of my animals' health and well-being, that's going to be number one to me, because that's the problem that I'm dealing with locally. And so this miniature horse feed, they're going to get it as long as I can get access to it. So I know it's kind of a, nothing is ever black or white. I guess we're all shades of gray, like that song. Who sings that song? I can't think. There's a song by a famous sort of red dirt country singer called Shades of Gray, and I really believe that that's true. It's very, realistically, life is not black or white. Everything is shades of gray. So anyway, so that's my treatise on feed tags. It was bugging me. I looked it up. That song is by Robert Earl King, but I've got a version by Jason Boland. Hi, Charlie. Hi, guys. Well, Gusty has had her supper here. She had some alfalfa, and there's still a little bit left there. And she has had her Epsom salt soak and her ice boot soak. So, yeah. Hi, Sweet Peach. What are you doing? Aw. So I'm going to take the boot off of her and turn her back out here. Today, all this good rain has been wonderful, but we are fighting a little bit of mud. Today, you can see I can't feed without getting to be a mess. I've got my muck boots on here. So anyway, I'm going to put Gusty back up. Ponies have had their food. Little Miss is feeling a little bit better too, so that's a good sign. So I'll put them up, or put her back up, and we'll be done with feeding for tonight. Well, as you can see, it's raining again, and I'm grateful. Anytime I get rain in August, I'm not going to complain. We are under a flood watch, an aerial flood watch. Now, I live on top of a hill, so I'm not in any danger of that, but the ground is very saturated, thankfully, from all this rain we've been getting. So, if we get this hard rain like they're predicting tonight, there's really nowhere for it to go, and so there may be some minor flooding. I've dried off. I put on dry clothes. I'm going to eat some supper in a little bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about making ethical choices. We used to have a feed mill just literally up the road from me, and I would buy all my feed from them, and they would mix it to my specifications, and it was handy. It was right there at the house. I could buy it in bulk. They would bag it however I wanted it, and that was wonderful. They bought from local producers, and it was all wonderful until the people that bought it started embezzling money, and it kind of folded. So that went out the window. I bought from a local feed store after that. I bought from a local feed store. They got feed out of a mill in Missouri. So it was a regional mill. Except the problem I was running into there is I would buy a bag one week that was, I would pay for a 50-pound bag and the bag would be 45 pounds or it'd be 40 pounds. Or I would open it up and it would be full of bugs. Or I would open it up and it would be moldy. There was really poor quality control. I buy at my farmer's co-op now, which I am a member of, so it is owned by the membership in a sense. And I buy as much of my feed from their local mills as possible, but the pony feed and the chick feed, I have to buy, you know, the Purina brand. And yes, I know that they are, I mean, I haven't looked at their record lately, but I know in the past they did some pretty dirty, awful things in terms of like baby formula and stuff, because they are they're in the same umbrella company as Nestle. You know, when I buy products, I do my best to buy fair trade and ethical products. I try to make as much of the things that I use as possible. You know, even when I buy my Halloween candy, I would try to buy endangered species chocolate. It was the brand name. One time somebody thought I was buying chocolate made out of endangered species, which I thought was really strange. But anyway, I buy, you know, when I give out Halloween candy, I buy the endangered species chocolate, or I buy the suckers that have, you know, that are for kids who have certain intolerances. They can have those. So I try to vote with my money. I really do. I can't always do that. I try to avoid going to Walmart whenever possible. Sometimes it's just not feasible not to go there. I try to buy all my feed from companies who I believe support, or at least don't support negative agendas. I don't know what agendas they would support otherwise. I mean, they're just little local or regional mills. But sometimes, you know, like I said, I never claim to be an ethical angel. I do the best that I can, and I think most people are that way. You know, it came down to me as a question of quality. You know, if I'm trying to keep my ethical soul above reproach, but my animals are suffering, then I'm really not being effective as a human being, in my opinion. So, yeah. So I guess I sacrifice my soul a little bit so that they can have better. Or good quality. Maybe someday somebody will open that mill back up, or maybe another one will open up. There is a mill a few, you know, several miles away, but they mostly cater to large farms. They sell those big, like what are called super sacks, which are a ton of feed, and I don't have any way to manage that. And they mostly do cattle feed anyway. They don't do small orders. You know, so yeah. It's a quandary. I mean, it bothers me. It does bother me. And, you know, just like it bothers me, you know, when I find out that, say, some company that I buy their products is doing things that I don't agree with in terms of their agenda, right? You know, but I do the best that I can. You know, I donate to charities that I check out on Charity Tracker, or I donate locally. I try to spend my money ethically everywhere I possibly can. You know, I try to donate to the causes that matter. But, you know, sometimes you have to not be so above reproach, I guess. I'm not Caesar's wife, so I don't have to be above reproach, but I just do the best that I can. So I think that's where I'm going to end for today. You know, this may cost me some more people. I don't know. I was talking with someone today, and this was coming up at Mystic South about, you know, people, and it's good to be passionate about causes, but when you become so strident that you alienate people who believe in your cause because they're not pure enough or they're not good enough, you know, it's like, how can you be a feminist and wear makeup? Well, I like makeup. How can you be a feminist and shave your legs? Well, I like how my legs feel when I shave them. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. You do you and I'll do me. You know, the idea that there's this very strong dichotomy. I don't believe that that's true. You know, I believe that there's room for many viewpoints at the table. Now, obviously, there's some viewpoints I don't want at my table. Like, I ran into some full-blown swastika sporting, tattooed white supremacists this weekend at one of the yard sales. And they were very rude to me. And I looked at them and I just kind of bowed up and I said, "You're not going to talk to me like that." And I went over to Mrs. Hayes and said, "We got to go because there's fixing to be something bad go down here because these people are getting ugly." You know, so I try to fight my fights where I can, but I also am responsible for these little guys' lives and I need to do right by them too. So I just do the best that I can, and hopefully y'all understand. And if you don't, I'm sorry if I made you mad. But right now, this is what I'm doing the best that I can with in terms of the feed that I feed. Maybe something will change someday where I can get that mini horse formulation from a more local company that has consistent, good quality feed. And then I will change. Because it'll be supporting a local business and it'll be, you know, voting with my dollars and causes that I believe in. But until then, I gotta dance with the devil a little bit, I guess. Anyway, so I hope y'all are having a good day. It was a good day at work. I got a lot done on my class. I'm feeling pretty positive about it. Like I said, I'm changing to a free open source textbooks to try to help my students save some money. Because I know living on college student budget, that's hard. A lot of our students are scholarship students and they are, you know, maybe first generation college students or living in poverty, and anywhere I can help them save some money, I'm going to do my best. You know, so I thought maybe we'd try. The textbook looks very good quality, and the expert TA system is less expensive than the other online homework system that we were using, so I'm going to try that out and see how it works. It may blow up in my face, but at least I can say that I tried, right? Got some interesting topics. That's the class that I do the science literacy stuff in, and the how do we become more inclusive in STEM topics, and how do we include more minorities in STEM, underrepresented minorities in STEM, and make it more welcoming for them. I did schedule the service learning project. It's going to be the last Saturday in October, so I've got that scheduled out, and I wrote out some new helpful hints to try to avoid some of the confusion about things that we had last semester in terms of what was what and what was due when and everything. So anyway, I hope that y'all are doing well. I hope that you've had a good day. I'm going to go knit on a pair of socks tonight. I'm going to knit on those Couch and Crackers socks tonight by Julia from the Happy Knitting podcast. I don't think I'm going to record an episode tonight. I think I'm just going to call it good and maybe either try to do one tomorrow or maybe just wait until next Monday and get back on my Monday schedule, because that will be what I have to do once school starts anyway. I'll have to record on Monday nights. So anyway, I hope y'all are doing well. I said that about 4 times, so I guess I'm really worried about your well-being. Anyway, y'all have a good night, and until I see y'all again, hopefully tomorrow, y'all be good to each other and take care of each other, and peace out, y'all. Bye.